I was at a race with Mo Farah. We had been training together in Fontremo, and he says to me just before I get on the plane home, don't forget to get back in the gym in a couple of days' time. You've broken your body down quite a lot today. 61:08, very, very fast for a half marathon. But he didn't say get the mileage back up. He didn't say start working on those tempos again. Don't forget to get back in the gym. Once you've been doing it for maybe 2-3 weeks, you'll really start to see the benefits. You'll notice that you don't fade in tempo runs. You'll notice that your intervals don't take as much out of you going into the next day. And then hopefully, I really do hope for you on race day, you see that you hold your pace for longer. And that's because you already had the fitness. You just weren't able to bring it out of yourself. Gym, on multiple occasions for multiple athletes, is probably something that we skip as the first protocol. We prioritize running, or we prioritize an extra run. You guys likely think from a time perspective, you might not have time to do gym, but gym is what's going to help you get the full fitness out of your body rather than the body physically breaking down, perhaps in training, getting an injury in the build-up, or perhaps worse, on race day, when you feel good, you aerobically feel good, the breathing feels good, but physically something starts to talk to you. Something starts to say, we're going to have to slow down, or worse, like in my recent Lisbon half marathon, we're going to have to stop. Because if we don't, glutes, hamstrings, calves, something's going to break down. So let's talk about gym, and let's give you a routine that you can start doing. So Sunday was long run day. I like to do gym on either Wednesday or Sunday. You can do it in a couple of different ways. You can do it before a run, after a run, wherever time permits. There's not one way to do this. You need to build it into your routine so that it's manageable and it's consistent. Aim for 2 to 3 times per week. I actually felt pretty weak in the gym. Hamstrings were shaking when I was doing some of those holds. Some of this gym is very, very basic, and I'm literally shaking thinking, how can you expect to run 2:08:10 Olympic marathon time when your current physical shape or physical strength, you're struggling doing a hamstring hold? So this is going to be really important over these next 4 weeks to extract that big result out of me on race day at London. But I start most gym sessions with a little walking routine. So that's some calf walks. And really the calves are the first part of the, body, feet, calves that are going to hit the ground during that running technique. I think it's important for your calves to be strong, to then stop other parts of your body like quads, hamstrings, glutes having to overwork because they're supporting the calves. So it starts with a little calf routine, which is your calf walks, some calf raises, single leg and double leg. And then I also move into some calf holds, and it depends what equipment that there is in the gym. So sometimes I'll use a box, where you would do like a box step up, and I'll hold a kettlebell in the sort of lunge position, and I'll just do bent leg holds for an isometric hold. And that isolates single leg, which is what running is. You're not, jumping with 2 feet at the one time. But sometimes I'll also use the leg press machine, and then you'll see me with the leg extended out, my toe planted, up nice and tall, and I'm working that muscle isometrically. But I'll aim for 2 to 3 calf exercises, and that basically stimulates the calves in a way that I'm not doing the exercises until failure, but I know that by putting load through the calves, it's going to really help to strengthen those. And that's the beginning of all my gym routines. Always start with the calves. And then I tend to just move up the chain. I have all different exercises that I know are good for running, and then so what I'm doing is, as I'm going through the gym routine, I'm trying to think to myself, what area have I worked already? Maybe it's calves. So then I might move into hamstring holds. I might do some RDLs, some single leg RDLs or double leg RDLs. And again, I'm never looking to break the muscles down to the point of, I'm absolutely dying. But I just know that the body responds well to 2 to 3 times per week, injecting it with just a little bit of load, a little bit of stimulus. So if I'm doing like a hamstring hold, for example, I might hold it for 6 seconds, or I might hold it for 10. It really depends what I've done that morning. In this scenario, it was a 20-mile run, and 17 mile of that was at 320 per K or 520 per mile. So it didn't take as much for my legs to start shaking while I'm doing the hamstring holds, or to, get sore. And so therefore, I don't want to say, here's the exact time that you should be doing this for. Just make sure that your technique is in a good place. Really, when you're doing hamstring holds or a lot of this gym stuff, really start to think about where your pelvis is sitting. And you want your pelvis to be tucked under you, which is like squeezing the glutes through, tuck that pelvis under. Then you can come up into your hamstring hold it for a healthy amount of time, try to hold that pelvis position, and then you can swap legs. Same with your, like the RDLs, you want to make sure that that pelvis is in a really good position. You can use a Swiss ball and do hamstring curls. There are other hamstring exercises. Or when you're squatting, for example, which I will later, then I'm still using my hamstrings during that exercise. But I then move from hamstrings perhaps to glutes. Glutes, you can do glute raises. You just have to shorten the length of your leg. Instead of doing a long lever, hamstring hold or hamstring walkouts, you can do a shorter lever, which means you bring your bum closer to your place that you were holding your leg up. And that is now going to start to isolate the glutes more than it was the hamstrings. You might find that when you're doing the glute bridge, you're still using your hamstrings quite a lot, and then so maybe shorten the gap again. This is going to target the glutes. You can do a box step up, which is really useful for, your glutes. You don't have to use weight. One thing I would say, get the pelvis tucked. Make sure that when your foot is getting ready to plant to then drive up, make sure that you can actually feel the glute connecting. Make sure that you can feel it, tensing, and that you're actually working it, you're using it. Another way to, help the glutes is your activation routines before runs or post runs. Really, you want to manage those glutes across the week. That's something for me that has got really quite tight lately, and likely tight, almost like chronically tight from racing some marathons and then never really doing anything about it after the marathons. Not introducing treatment in there, like maybe rolling on a daily basis, but then also a gym routine which isolates the glutes, gets those a bit stronger. I then might do some raised leg lunges or just a lunge routine, and this is going to start to work muscles in sync, but it also brings quads into the sort of routine and hip flexors a little bit into the routine. So like a high box split squat, I think is really useful for the, the quads, but also then starting to work these muscles together, which becomes a lot closer related to when you're actually out there running. So gym, think single leg routine, a lot of single leg stuff, but then also working these areas together. So you're going into this, high step up split squat. You are tucking your pelvis as per usual, and then you're dropping up and down. But think about that running routine. Think about that chest being high, that head, straight forward, and just manage it in a way like before that you're working the muscle, but you're not working it too much that you're going to move to a place of hindering and not helping the running. These are mostly exercises so far that you could have done at home, or you could have done in your living room, or you could do post-run, etc. You don't need all the fancy gym equipment. So what I tend to do between maybe some of the hamstring stuff, or maybe the split leg lunges, is I'll do some plyometrics. And I stick to basics. Again, joggingroom.com, check it out. There is more plyometric exercises there, and a lot of this footage comes from that. But you've got your single leg pogos. You've got some CMJs, they're called, which is just a very simple, you stand quite neutrally, and then you go down into the squat position, and then you spring up. But it seems explosive, but it is very good for that muscle recruitment. You can do the pogos, you can do the CMJs, or you can do some box jumps, actual jumping up onto the box, and then see how high you can go. Being very careful not to go too high to end up hurting yourself, please. So then the only other exercises that I'll really do that involves weight and weight on the back is a squat. My squats are probably the talking point of the video, that I'm going to be told I don't do them right. I'm just copying what I learned from Mo Farah, Bashir Abdi, these titans of the sport. We would go down to about a quarter squat, sometimes a little bit deeper than a quarter squat, but it depends if we're doing when you get to the top of the squat or you're coming up from the squat, you can really thrust the hips forward, which adds a bit of power, but then sometimes the bar will jump up and you have to support it with your arms, make sure that you're catching it before it goes down onto your back. The squat is probably the area that I can see where perhaps I've lost strength the most, because currently I did about 60 or 70 kg, and that was in the gym yesterday, and I know that I had built that up to almost 90 or 100, and I'm probably getting the same DOMs. In fact, I'm getting sorer DOMs today than I would have done when I was doing 90 or 100. But don't think of any of this gym stuff as macho trying to show off. Just start adding some of this stuff into your routine. Go check out the website joggingroom.com. Heaps more stuff on there. Gym routines, more strength guides, more exercises that you can pick from. But it's really not complicated. Think of the muscles that are breaking down, strengthen them. When you're leaving the gym, think to yourself, have I done my calves, hamstrings, adductors, quads, glutes? If you need to do some core to help stabilize, do some core. There's more routines on the website. Start doing some bloody gym. As Mo Farah would say, get yourself in the bloody gym, and take care.